interviewed by the Chargers. Morris is also one of at least 4 black coaches who have been interviewed by the Chargers. The Chargers have met with 49ers defensive coordinator Steve Wilks, former Stanford head coach David Shaw, and former Buffalo Bills defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do Black history every single day. In fact, as the only Black talk radio station west of the Mississippi, we are Black history. Our annual Black History Month luncheon is fast approaching, and we want to be sure to give you ample time to get your company, organization, church, or group to join us at this year's celebration on the last day of the month, Thursday, February 29th at noon. Last year, we honored iconic local Black media personalities, including Pat Harvey, Jim Hill, Mark Brown, Beverly White, Sandy Banks, and Pat Prescott, and raised $20,000 in scholarships. This year, we're honoring Black Hollywood creatives who have used their artistic genius as climate justice champions. At this year's luncheon, we will be showcasing and sharing their inspiring work on our big screen. Plus, a scrumptious meal, live music, great company, and lots of fun with your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts. So contact us today at info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. That's info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. We hope to see you Thursday, February 29th as we close out Black History Month. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black. At KBLA Talk 1580, we do Black history every single day. In fact, as the only Black talk radio station west of the Mississippi, we are Black history. Our annual Black History Month luncheon is fast approaching, and we want to be sure to give you ample time to get your company, organization, church, or group to join us at this year's celebration on the last day of the month, Thursday, February 29th at noon. Last year, we honored iconic local Black media personalities, including Pat Harvey, Jim Hill, Mark Brown, Beverly White, Sandy Banks, and Pat Prescott, and raised $20,000 in scholarships. This year, we're honoring Black Hollywood creatives who have used their artistic genius as climate justice champions. At this year's luncheon, we will be showcasing and sharing their inspiring work on our big screen. Plus, a scrumptious meal, live music, great company, and lots of fun with your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts. So contact us today at info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. That's info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. We hope to see you Thursday, February 29th as we close out Black History Month. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black.
Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Preacher man, don't tell me heaven is under the earth. I know you don't know what life is really worth. It's not all that glitter is gold. After story had never been told, so now you see the light. Hey, stand up for your right. Come on, get up, stand up.
KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dominique DiPrima, and it's time for Freedmen Fridays. We're doing this every single Friday. It is meant to be a comprehensive reparations conversation. So we are inviting all comers. And I am so excited to have with us in the studio, so you can see us on YouTube if you want to, at KBLA 1580, a clinical psychologist working, emphasizing community psychology. She's on the faculty of Loyola Marymount University and has been for the past 34 years. She's a professor of psychology and director of the Applied Research Center. Also, Dr. Grills was appointed by the governor of the state of California to sit on their groundbreaking Reparations Task Force, which recently wrapped their work, delivered a 1,200-page report, and now we'll talk about what's next. 800-920-1580 if you want to come in. Dr. Cheryl Grills, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you on. So the Freedmen Fridays definitely is stirring the pot, and that's a good thing. I mean, I want to get momentum. I want people to be well versed. Several attempts to, or at least two that I know of, attempts to extend the work of the task force did not happen. Mm-hmm. But you're carrying on with it's not an unofficial alliance mm-hmm. that is working to continue that tract. Yes. Tell me about that.
Yes. So 6 members of the 9-member task force came together after the task force sunset. And we just kept having conversations with each other, trying to figure out, like, what's the best way to keep the momentum going, what work needs to be done. And that led to the formation of the Alliance for Reparations, Reconciliation and Truth. And that this alliance actually is a coming together of a powerhouse of organizations. The kind of officiators of the alliance is the California Black Power Network and Equal Justice Society, but our kind of steering committee is composed of really important movers and shakers like California, et cetera. And what we're doing is trying to ensure that the public continues to be educated about reparations, what it is, why it's needed, what's it going to take to actually get this to the point where we have legislation that leads to actual forms of repair, and then also to support the efforts of the legislators in California, particularly the California Black Caucus, Legislative Black Caucus. They're going to need the community's backing for anything that they put forth to the legislature. And so how do we make sure that boots on the ground are ready and mobilized to respond to the call?
Do you think that, are you feeling strong about where we are with the Congressional Black Caucus and what they're planning to put forth, or what you know of it?
Yes, but I wish we knew more. And I wish there was a better communication between the caucus and the alliance organizations. But needless to say, they are working, and I believe it'll be in about a week. They will be making an announcement of the actual legislation that they're going to be being put forward that reflects some of the recommendations we made in our final report. I think what they've done is an analysis of the various recommendations and put them into buckets, and then crafted legislation that might address multiple things. So I think we should expect about at least 12 bills to be coming out from the caucus this year.
Now, you were appointed by the governor to be on this task force, and you're a psychologist. So a lot of people would say, why have a psychologist on a reparations task force when, we're talking money and historical facts?
Right. At the end of the day, reparations is about human beings, and Black folks are human, contrary to what this country has tried to do to dehumanize us for over 400 years. And you can't take a group of people and subject them day in and day out, generation in, generation out, to all manner of dehumanization, denigration, denial of rights, redefining their humanity and who they are and what they have or have not contributed to society. You can't do that 24/7 and it not take a toll on the people. And when people talk about reparations, they've often not looked at the humanity part of it, the human beingness part of it, the psychic trauma part of it, the racial stress part of it. And as human beings, one of the things that we have to recognize is that we are not equipped to handle day in and day out chronic stress. That an incidental experience of stress is one thing, but then when you make it chronic, and you make it chronic across generations, you're now altering people's basic biology in terms of the stress response. You're altering people's sense of their own identity. You're altering people's sense of community and interactions with one another. And so at the end of the day, there's damage that's done in terms of our physical health and our mental health. And reparations needs to attend to that. Reparations needs to have healing on the agenda. If we're going to be talking about true change, it's not enough to just give me a check, but I'm not well. So, we've got to figure out how to address that.
Right, which doesn't mean we shouldn't have a check.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I can veer off into a whole other conversation because one of the things, which I won't do too much, but one of the things that I'm baffled by is how we seem to have snapped in the last 10 years. By we, I'm talking about black folks, as people I see on the streets, at a level I don't think, I mean, as you think, we've been through enslavement, we've been through Jim Crow, we've been through, is it cumulative, or, is it the drugs, is it the economy, is it, and can you, when you talk about repair, psychological and physiological repair that comes with those traumas, can it be reversed?
Absolutely. One of the things that is important to recognize is that as human beings, and especially for black folk, we are resilient. If you create the conditions for healing, people will respond and the healing can occur. But you've got to create those conditions. You've got to make that healing a priority. And you've got to be willing to take a look at the harsh realities of the negative impact of race, of enslavement, Jim Crow, racism, multi-generational trauma. And it's not just even how we think and how we act. It literally can affect our genetics, right? So, they have this whole area now in psychology that focuses on epigenetics, and that if you stress, if my great-great-great-grandmother was brutalized, raped, lost her children, had to endure the most cruel conditions. She had a stress response to that. She would pass that on to my great-great-grandmother, who had her own additional layer. And so then she and her genes passed that on to my great-grandmother, who passed it on to my grandmother, to my mother, and to me. So I not only carry my present-day racial stress and trauma, I'm carrying for generations. We can alter that genetic process if we create the conditions and provide the tools for people to come out of the matrix, take that red pill, see America for what it is, recognize our own humanity, and as the Senegalese filmmaker Sembeni said, even if the rest of the world does not see me, I see myself, and then move from self-definition to healing and movement forward so that we can pass on to the next generation something better than what we got.
The folks are in the chat at KBLA 1580 on YouTube, and Sarah Binney asks what you think of the interactions of the governor with the task force over the past couple of years.
There hasn't been much interaction between the governor and the task force, and it's unfortunate. I give him credit for supporting the creation of the task force, but the jury is out, quite frankly, on what he's going to do moving forward. And, there's all kinds of conjecture about, he at some point is going to be running for president, so he's going to have to be very careful around how he steps in the reparations world.
I think so. I think it's probably a death knell for certain folks. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. I want to talk about where we are now. Want to look at some of the conversations we've been having on this show and how they pertain to the work that you're doing. And, where do we go from here? How do we continue to push the envelope? I know that's what you're trying to do with the Alliance. How do we not just keep the momentum going, but build it? Love to hear from you, 800-920-1580. We're talking with Dr. Cheryl Grills. I'm Dominique DiPrima, and then there's you on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Okay, confession time. I just shopped Kohl's clearance and I might have gone a little overboard. But who can blame me with all the major markdowns going on? I saved 70% on so many great finds, like cozy fleece sweats, comfy PJs, a cute sweater, stylish jeans, and I could keep going. Trust me, you do not want to miss out on Kohl's clearance major markdowns. And if you see me there again, no you didn't. Select styles. Up to 70% clearance offer ends January 21st. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohls.com for details.
Jim Gaffigan here with some more straight talk. Now you can get a Walmart Plus membership, plus not pay for it, because it's included with Straight Talk wireless plans. You get free delivery with Walmart plus a Paramount Plus subscription included. Plus, you pay less for gas. That's a lot of pluses.
Only Straight Talk gives you unlimited 5G data and Walmart Plus included on select plans for free.
Straight Talk Wireless, available at Walmart.
Requires service on Gold or Platinum Unlimited. One offer per eligible account. Paramount Plus Essential Plan only. Separate registration required. Additional terms apply.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
Talking with Dr. Cheryl Grills. I got some folks that want to talk to you on the phone, which is great, and you're welcome to check in or just go to the YouTube. I guess that's a popular thing now, and ask your questions. So Dr. Cheryl Grills was part of this task force. We're waiting, you said, within the next week or so, we should be hearing from the Congressional Black Caucus which legislative pieces of this they're taking on. Where do you think we are now?
I think we are at a critical moment that requires all hands on deck, quite frankly. So there, on the one hand, you have the Black Caucus ready and about to put forward some legislation. You've got a legislature with mixed, consciousness, understanding, and knowledge about reparations and the need for it. Questionable how many have even read the
right
the report. And then you have a general public that is extremely varied in its knowledge. We have to realize that our baseline is a woefully undereducated public, and I think with intentionality. So a lot of people don't know a lot of things, but that doesn't stop them from having opinions and making judgments. Now, there have been different polls that have suggested that, the general public is either against reparations or it's pretty much kind of in favor. It's mixed on whether or not there should be monetary compensation as part of the reparations package. But at the end of the day, we have to be really careful about how we interpret the polls because of the way the questions are asked, who gets polled, and how much people really know about the issue and what they're talking about. So I think we are at a moment where we need to do a lot of back to the old school, people sitting down in their living rooms with, as a group, reading stuff, talking about stuff, educating one another, and then showing up and turning out when the legislature starts reviewing the recommendations put forth by the caucus, so that there's a signal to the legislature that this is something that matters to people and people are ready and willing to get behind it.
It's time to collectively throw our hat in the air. Let's go to Cindy calling us from Los Angeles. Hi, Cindy.
Good morning, Dominique. Thank you for taking my call. Good morning, Doctor. Dr. Cheryl. I want to thank you guys, but I have an important issue to talk about. Dr. Bonnie Bailey, the one at the Lincoln University, Dominique. And I just think, had she had that help at the Freedmen Bureau, someone to turn to, like a hotline, an anti-black workplace, like domestic terrorist hotline, that she could have reported this and she could have gotten the help that this doctor right here, I didn't say it, like Dr. Cheryl Grills is talking about. And I just think if we had something in place to bully in the antagonism, lawyers, detectives, anything of that, we could get help going right now. So a hotline is what I'm asking for the Freedmen Bureau. And this anti-black workplace domestic terrorism is serious. It creates the stress and those things that we're talking about right now. So I just think if she had someone to connect to a team of detectives, investigators, and of that nature right now.
Got it, Cindy. Yeah, there are things like that. Like there's a hate crimes task force, even though people are mad that it's named Asian, but there's still, every city has a human relations commission. Here in the city of LA, where I'm broadcasting from, we have a civil rights department where you can call and report workplace discrimination. But I think your point about the Freedmen's Bureau and what it represents, because Senator Steve Bradford has a bill on the table to create a Freedmen's Bureau here in California. And I was surprised. Kevin Costner was on a couple weeks ago, and he said he doesn't support that. Mm-hmm. I was surprised by that. To me, it seems like it is at least a evidence of progress.
So I think the general idea of a place to go, a resource option is important. I think if I can take a moment and hazard a guess at what Kevin was referring to in terms of his problems with a Freedmen's Bureau, is that the way that the idea of a Freedmen's Bureau was described in our final report was so all-encompassing and so heavily bureaucratic and so costly that it would probably take years and years to get it fully functioning, and it could consume an incredible amount of resources, and it had duplicative effort in it. A Freedmen's Bureau that offers things like a hotline, like resources for investigative purposes, like serving as a monitor and watchdog of other agencies, but a watchdog with teeth. I think that's fine. But I think we just have to be very clear about what kind of scope and what kind of reach a Freedmen's Bureau would have in this present day, in this highly bureaucratic society that we're in. Having done a lot of work with California departments, state departments, some of the things that are written in our final report, frankly, are like, do you understand how much it would take to do that? Do you understand how problematic that could be?
But at the same time, when we get to cash reparations, somebody's going to have to administer that, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things, that I've that I'm concerned about is exactly that. The welfareization is what I call it, of reparations, where all of a sudden you get to be mistreated, all of a sudden it's being handled by EDD or the people that bring you, SNAP, and you have to be humiliated again just to get reparation. Also, it seems like it is a way of centralizing within the government systems.
Yes.
Reparations and acknowledging it, which to me seems important.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. But what I think when it comes to then saying that then the Freedmen's Bureau is going to actually offer healthcare services, it's going to provide housing services, it's going to, that's one, duplicating some things that we already have in the state infrastructure that could be monitored better, that could be revised to be more responsive to community needs better, and something like a Freedmen's Bureau could play a role in that. But it's also duplicating resources and services from our community-based organizations that should be and could be a part of that whole reparations implementation process. That's rebuilding the safety net.
Right. I guess I'm not getting why, you don't want the Freedmen's Bureau to have to be the Housing Bureau and Child Services and this and that. But if it's administering reparations funding and support, wouldn't that then be channeled to some extent to some of those community-based organizations?
It could, but we would have to make sure that the bill is written in such a way to ensure that there's that inclusivity of community in the process.
All right, we're a minute away from news, traffic, and sports, but I want to go to Jeff from LA. Jeff, you can go ahead and ask your question, and then we'll hit it on the other side.
Hey, how you doing, Dominique?
Good.
You spoke very eloquently yesterday, and I want to thank you for that. Also, I want to make a comment about the bike lanes, and I'll make a comment about reparations. The bike lane was introduced by somebody from Boston that came over here.
Yeah. Well, we're talking reparations now, so I'd love to talk with you about that in the final hour of the show or next week. But yeah.
Reparations question too, because I have that too.
Okay.
So basically,
I know.
what I think on the reparation is that because the system has changed from the structured system that I grew up in, and it's a money situation, and I don't think we have enough people in place to allow us to get to the funds or to the laws or to access anything that we need because it's so divided, because it's more the divisive.
Okay, hold that thought. Yeah, hold that thought. We can definitely do a little work there. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the Black Information Network. A legal fight is underway to save an historic African-American cemetery in the Buckhead portion of Atlanta. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution reporting around 300 black people were buried at the Piney Grove Cemetery between the 1820s and 1990s, but now it's overgrown with vegetation. The Bluffs at Lennoxtown Homes Homeowners Association is in charge of maintaining that property. 2 women have filed a lawsuit claiming the association is neglecting its responsibility. Over 50 deaths are being blamed on the Arctic cold weather gripping much of the U.S. Tennessee officials say at least 14 people died of weather-related causes during the latest round of winter storms. At least 10 people died in Oregon after ice storms hit the Pacific Northwest. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Nearly 3,000 teen drivers die in car crashes each year. Tire Rack Street Survival is designed to save lives. The one-day hands-on driving school gives teens experience in car control through exercises that include emergency braking and skid recovery. Find a class near you at TireRack.com/survive.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers are back on the court tonight at Crypto.com. They take on the Brooklyn Nets. The Lakers are trying to get above 500 for the first time since December 30th. 7:30 tip-off tonight on ESPN. LA's other NBA team is 12 games over 500. The Clippers are only 3 games behind Minnesota for the best record in the Western Conference. The Clippers are off until Sunday when they host Brooklyn, 12:30 tip. The Chargers have scheduled an interview for tomorrow with Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris. Morris will be the 12th person interviewed for the Chargers head coach vacancy. Morris is also one of at least 4 black coaches who have been interviewed by the Chargers. Morris is also one of at least 4 black coaches who have been interviewed by the Chargers. The Chargers have met with 49ers defensive coordinator Steve Wilks, former Stanford head coach David Shaw, and former Buffalo Bills defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Got me a damn girl on my team.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe we have the best tag team in morning radio. Dominique DiPrima and Tavis Smiley. As the first black woman in Los Angeles to anchor a morning drive talk radio show, Dominique covers local politics like a blanket. Weekday mornings from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. At 9 a.m., Dominique passes the baton to Tavis Smiley, who talks to everybody about everything every day until 12 noon. KBLA's dynamic duo, Dominique and Tavis. It's no wonder the LA Civil Rights Department is honoring Dominique DiPrima this year at its Tell Our Story honoring black journalist leaders and storytellers event, Thursday, February 8th. Or that the John M. Langston Bar Association of Los Angeles is honoring Tavis Smiley at its 47th Annual Installation and Scholarship Awards Gala with its Community Impact Award on February 10th. We couldn't be more proud of Dominique and Tavis, who make black history every day, not just in February. If you're missing Dominique and Tavis weekday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580, you're missing out. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
Holla, yeah.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Every year, LAFLA provides free, high-quality legal services to more than 100,000 people living in poverty across greater Los Angeles. Their unique combination of neighborhood offices, self-help centers at courthouses, and domestic violence clinics puts Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles on the front lines in vulnerable communities and at the forefront of change. LAFLA's expert team of attorneys, paralegals, and support staff works to provide direct representation, offer counsel and advice, provide referrals, and educate the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars. With locations all over LA, you can access their services or volunteer to help no matter where you live. And if you have an urgent issue, call 213-235-0060. That's 213-235-0060. To get legal help, make a donation, or volunteer, visit LAFLA.org. LAFLA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Climate is king.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, we will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice.
We want cleaner air.
Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world if we care enough. This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate meets a scholarly match.
Absolutely. You're invited in. It's a Freedmen Friday. Amelie Beatty says, I love how transparent the task force was. All their meetings are available online. 800-920-1580 if you want to call in. Dr. Cheryl Grills, who was a member of the task force, the California Reparations Task Force, is my guest. And Jeff from LA was asking a question, talking about the money, talking about divisions. Let's start with divisions. Friday Jones made the point that we don't have to be in lockstep. That doesn't mean there's necessarily a problem. If we're being real about it, there's also some personal attacks going on and some level of vitriol that also, at least online, maybe not in real life, that doesn't seem like it's serving us, I guess is what I would say. And the complaint that I hear from the more lineage-based folks is that they're not being allowed in the room. They're not getting the funding opportunities. They're not getting the fair shake at being heard and their ideas being considered. We have folks that have been organizing around reparations or talking about it for decades, and then we have younger folks who have created this incredible energy and momentum for reparations. And what are the points of unity? Like, how do we move past that? I guess it's a multiple part question. Are those legacy organizations making space for younger voices? Because we know that doesn't always happen in our community.
I would say that they are, but I could also say they could do better. So, for example, when you look at NCOBRA is actually working hard right now as we speak to expand the youth base of their efforts across the country and within specific chapters. When you look at at NARC, the National African American Reparations Commission, they could do better to have younger voices in the space, and that's actually one of the things that I'm going to be bringing up with them at some of our upcoming meetings. How do we ensure that we are, one, making space for young people, two, providing the information and the historical record that will aid young people, and then three, put them in positions where they are carrying the baton, because my generation, our time is starting to fade, and we need to make space. We need to be doing succession planning, and we need to make sure that both the voices of the youth and the elders and everybody in between is heard.
In the chat here, Friday Jones says, why is there an anti-lineage movement within the reparations movement?
I don't know that there's an anti-lineage movement within the reparations movement. I think people have opinions, and those opinions differ. And just because my opinion differs from another person's opinion doesn't mean I'm now launching a movement. We've got to figure out how to disagree and not be quote unquote disagreeable. And we have to figure out how to find a middle ground that we can all work with. And that sometimes at the end of the day, we don't always get our way. And, so what do we do when we don't get our way? Do we take our basketball, our ball, and leave the sandbox? Or do we say, well, this is not my preference, but I'm part of the larger cause, and I'm gonna stick in with this, and I'm gonna fight the fight for the greater good, not just for what I want.
Jeff, I don't know if I addressed your question.
No, you didn't.
Okay, real quick, please, because folks are deciding to weigh in today, which is great. Jeff, you there? Oh man, we lost Jeff. Jeff, call me back. If we didn't address your question, I want to do so. Amina from LA, you got it.
Hi. Yes, good morning, and thank you for taking my call. I'm an officer of the Dream King Forward Foundation. Our organization is advocating for legislation that permits our culture to thrive and survive through ownership of our own community stores, which brings about ownership and continued financial security.
Okay, bring me to reparations here, Amina. This is our Freedmen Friday segment.
Yes, this is about reparations in the form of legislation of having and owning our own community stores as a community and generational wealth to be passed on. And I think that'll help diminish some of the smash and grabs that's occurring and stuff because there's no pride of ownership. Black people have never had the ability to have a chain of stores.
I mean, I don't, we can agree to disagree on why people are smashing and grabbing it. I don't think the problem is pride. I think it's resources. But I still don't get, maybe if we hand people the reparations and the United States pays the debt, that could be a game changer.
So the legislation I'm referring to would be that of having permits to be able to have our own community stores because of lack of resources. So that because everything we wear comes from them, all of our sources, we have to go to others. And if we have our own community stores and our own
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit of a sidebar, but maybe not. Cheryl Grills, talk to me about how the task force addresses repair and opportunity in the business spaces, which is really what Amina's talking about.
Right. I think that she's right on point that it is important to build the generational wealth. Our report, in terms of laying out the harms, talked about how Black businesses were undermined, how Black creativity was stolen, how our opportunities were hindered. And so there are policy recommendations specific to generating wealth, both in terms of owning property, but also business creation.
So the phone lines will stay open for the final hour of the show after we lose Dr. Grills at the top of the hour, and you're welcome to call. If you don't get in now, call me then. Let's talk about it. That's what we're here for. Jeff, real quick, your question was. Got Jeff back.
Okay, I'm back. Thank you. So my thing is because of the generation that she's talking about, I'm in that generation, and I see all the points that you guys are pointing out, and it's too big of a picture to describe. But I think the reparations won't come until a future time because we don't have enough people in place. Because, like, for instance, the narrative of the media outlets are being bought out by conservatives, and so our message is getting displaced, and we're not able to have some kind of unification spot or link where we can all get together and say, hey, this is what we need to do as a people and not all these individual things that are going on. I think that's what's going to stall reparations because you just have a lot of people with too much money that are going out of their way to block everything we do.
Okay, a lot of different things you said. Thank you, Jeff. It is true there's legislation in Texas and now I think in Florida to pre-block reparations and penalize states that offer reparations. I don't, I'm not sure if that'll stop us or not.
I don't think that's going to stop us. And we have enough. So when the California Reparations Task Force started, there were only a handful of government entities, right, cities, counties, or states that were considering or doing something related to reparations. It was only a handful. Since we have sunset in California, there are somewhere, I think the last count I saw was 60 plus. And I heard another estimate around 100.
Cities, counties, states.
And states.
Some people feel like the city, county, state scenario actually undermines a federal reparations.
I disagree. And I think we can do both and I think both and are necessary. So the federal government is derelict in its duty on this, and it is clear that they are not taking this up. This has been put before them, year after year after year, Congress after Congress, and with no action. The current White House, no action. And so when they are not acting, it's up to us at the local level to say, well, we're going to do our work. and we're going to force the issue. And if you have enough states forcing the issue, you're now building that movement for reparations. You're building that momentum that can, act as a stimulus to get the federal government to do the work that it needs to do.
Should Biden do something by executive order, like an HR 40 type thing, by executive order a study?
Yeah, he could, but if he doesn't win re-election, there it goes.
Right, and he definitely ain't going to do it before then. I don't see that happening.
Right.
We're talking with Dr. Cheryl Grills and you, 800-920-1580. It is a Freedmen Friday exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Do you have both Medi-Cal and Medicare?
If so, the new LA Care plan called Medicare Plus can help you get the most out of your health plan for $0.
LA Care provides personalized service to Angelinos like us.
Plus, it gives us access to doctors and specialists across Los Angeles County.
For zero cost, we get access to full benefits.
From vision coverage,
in-home support services,
to prescription drug coverage,
and a quarterly over-the-counter allowance.
plus personal equipment.
Meal programs,
a gym membership,
And so much more.
for more than 25 years,
LA Care has provided Angelinos with access to quality health care at an affordable cost.
For our families,
our seniors,
our community,
it's a plus.
it's a plus.
for all of us.
Hello, I'm John McKinney, your candidate for District Attorney. As an African American who has served our community for over 25 years, I'm proud to have successfully convicted the killer of Nipsey Hussle, standing up for justice where it matters most. But my commitment extends beyond the courtroom. I'm deeply invested in youth development. And when it comes to our police, I believe in accountability. It is essential that those who protect us are also responsible to us, reflecting the values and integrity of our community. This election, I ask for your vote. I am John McKinney, and I'm running to be your district attorney. Learn more at McKinneyforLA.com. Paid for by John McKinney for LA District Attorney 2024.
There's only a few days left for open enrollment, starting at $0 a month. LA Care Covered offers the benefits you need to achieve your health goals. $0 preventive services, 24/7 virtual care and nurse advice lines, walk-in minute clinics, free fitness and nutrition classes, and more. Become a member of LA's most affordable health plan. Get a free instant quote at lacarecovered.org. Have open enrollment questions? Connect with us today at 855-222-4239. Find your affordable path to wellness with LA Care Covered today. KBLA Talk 1580 is the exclusive media sponsor of This Light of Ours, activist photographers of the Civil Rights Movement. A dynamic new exhibition on view now at the Skirball Cultural Center in Los Angeles. This Light of Ours showcases more than 150 photos taken by movement insiders from diverse backgrounds that reveal the vital work undertaken by a broad coalition of organizers and everyday people whose collective action changed America. This Light of Ours is one of 3 temporary exhibitions currently on view at the Skirball, which together explore issues related to civil rights, immigration, and pluralism. Tickets and more information for all 3 exhibitions are available at skirball.org. That's skirball.org. SKIRBALL.org.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Right now, we're talking with Dr. Cheryl Grills. It's such a huge topic that it's almost impossible to cover everything. You guys are trying to do that. You have a docu-series that you are working on. Tell me about that.
Right. So, we were very clear during the task force that educating the public was an important task that has to be done, and it can be done in multiple ways. So one of the ways is through the medium of film and television. So we've been working on a docu-series based on the 12 chapters of harm outlined in the interim report and carried forward into the final report. And the docu-series has an episode dedicated to each chapter. The director and the creative genius behind the docu-series is Chan Berry from Urban Winter Entertainment. And Chan Berry is the person who, along with Bill Duke, made Dark Girls, the original documentary Dark Girls, and then Chan did Dark Girls 2 and a number of other films. We've already completed episode 1, which did not start where people would expect. We did not start with enslavement. We started with the chapter Pathologizing the Black Family. And in doing that particular episode, we lifted up the many assaults to the foundation of the Black community, and how we need to rise from the harm that was done there. The second episode does address enslavement, and we just finished that episode, and we'll be showing it in different places across the country. And then the third episode we actually started filming last week, and that one is focused on health and mental health.
So these are coming soon to an outlet near you. It's like a limited series on reparations. Hopefully keep the dialogue going. So the California Task Force actually did end up recommending lineage-based reparations. And that there's still a conversation going, lineage versus legacy. It seems to be at times pretty contentious. Is the I don't know, legacy or whatever you want to call it, reparations movement suggesting that everyone should get reparation from the United States? Like, of course, Britain and, the Dutch and a whole bunch of people owe reparations to people in different places. But when we're talking about our United States reparations movement, are you and other people, like the people in NARC and COBRA, those, organizations that have been around, saying that anyone should get reparations, even if they have not descended from the folks that have experienced harm? Or, obviously we can say, well, everyone suffered harm under Jim Crow, or everyone suffers harm under the ongoing white supremacist, systems in this country. But I think from what I'm hearing, there's folks feeling like there is a failure to recognize Black Americans or freedmen or Negroes or FBA, ADOS, by any other name, as a distinct group of folks with a specific harm and specific repair that's needed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We are a distinct folk. I'm one of those distinct folk. My people are from South Carolina by way of West Africa, right? And so no one is denying the special experience and circumstances of direct descendants of enslaved Black folk in this country. But I think where there's a divide is in understanding the bigger picture. If you're Black in this country and you're harmed because of that Blackness by a government that has kind of baked into its DNA anti-Black Black messaging, policy, and history, then you deserve to get repair. Now, at the same time, this is a society that does not make a distinction. When the police pull you over, they're not saying, are you a direct descendant, or are you an immigrant from Jamaica? Oh, you're an immigrant from Jamaica? Be gone. I'm looking for direct descendants.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. And my real big concern is that unhoused people and others that are direct descendants or whatever will be left out because of, what I call the welfareization. But I do think there's an argument to be made that, there's lots of immigrants to this country, Black included, that just think they can hopscotch right over Black Americans and don't respect the investment, the sweat equity, and the struggle. I'm not just talking about building the White House. I'm talking about the struggle, and just, and feel like that as Black Americans, we don't have a special, class, and especially those who are arguing, in which, many do, that it's a debt that's owed, right?
Okay, so it was not by any grand design that I ended up in South Carolina and my cousins ended up in Jamaica and some other cousins ended up in Brazil. And what ended up happening, particularly in terms of the Caribbean, is that there was this fluid movement back and forth between folks from the islands and the Caribbean and the United States. It's not as clear-cut a distinction, and they were being harmed too. And yes, they have their reparations efforts that they're going
the Jamaicans
after.
got to go after the British, right? Yeah.
Exactly. But at the same time, we can't use the master's tools for dividing us, and then allow that to further divide us in the present day. We have a global problem of anti-Blackness. And thank God there is now a global movement. There is a Pan-African movement for reparations that includes all sectors of the global village. And maybe in that context, we can have an informed conversation about the nature of the harm and the special classes of people and how those harms should be repaired and who should be held accountable. But in the meantime, here in the United States, particularly given the way that the legislation for these commissions and these task forces have been written, they state not just to examine in the period of enslavement, but also the harms and the experiences post-enslavement.
But what the task force did, from what I can tell, is sort of a compromise, right? Because there's lineage there, but then there's the ability to recognize other specific harms linked to whether it be health care, housing, and the like.
Right. So that special class of direct descendants would receive preferential consideration and focus for the monetary compensation. But then where the harms were related to legal matters, housing, education, health care, and all Black people in this space in California were harmed, then that legislation for repair would benefit the full harmed class.
Yeah. So for folks that want to, keep track of the Alliance, keep themselves up to date, be well informed and well versed, what would you suggest we follow, read, do?
Form study groups like we did back in the 60s, right? Read the report, take it chapter by chapter, and in doing that reading, come up with your own questions, your own analysis. Find community-based organizations that are doing work on the issues that you see are a priority. Keep informed by radio shows like this and other Black media about what's going on. Look for information that will be coming out from the Alliance saying, this is what's happening in the legislature. Can you support? So, and then if you're a member of an organization or an association, please engage them in considering supporting the Reparations Task Force work. There's a supportreparations.org website that you can go to, and you can endorse in a variety of ways the work of the task force. We are at over 600 now. We started with less than 40 organizations. Wow. We're over 600. Our goal is to get to 1,000. And these are not lightweight organizations that have signed on. We're talking about the ACLU, the NAACP nationally, the Urban League nationally. We're talking about law associations and bar associations, the ethnic psych associations, the Association of Black Psychologists, the National Latinx Psych Association, the some divisions of the American Psychological Association have all signed on.
Supportreparations.org.
Yes.
And read the report. You can get it at the Office of the Attorney General website. Mm-hmm. Dr. Cheryl Grills, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
All right. You got something to say? Say it now after news, traffic, and sports. 800-920-1580. It's a Freedmen Friday on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the Black Information Network. A legal fight is underway to save an historic African-American cemetery in the Buckhead portion of Atlanta. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution reporting around 300 Black people were buried at the Piney Grove Cemetery between the 1820s and 1990s, but now it's overgrown with vegetation. The bluffs at Lennoxtown Home